No, I have this.
I'll stand because my part's probably not till the end.
Okay. But, oh, they used to be.
But I can do the slide change.
Okay.
Do you want me to start?
I am starting. I think I'm first.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you to the last session of the day. Yay! Then we get to party. So today, the three of us are going to talk to you guys about why you need a direct booking strategy. And I'm sure this is a topic you guys have heard of before. But let me first introduce us, or we'll introduce ourselves. So Arthur. So my name is Meg Park. I actually work with a company called VRM Advocate as a consultant. So I work with a number of vacation rental managers all over the country with multiple different things. Arthur?
Hi, everyone. My name is Arthur Kolker. I'm the founder and CEO of StayFi. In a previous life, I was a digital marketing consultant, so that's the expertise I'm bringing here today to talk to everyone about.
And I'm Jake Swap, and I'm the Live Res lead designer, and I'm pretty sure I built every one of your websites.
It says claim to fame.
You want to?
Yeah, all right, let's go. All right, so the first thing we're going to start about is we're going to define to you guys what exactly are direct bookings. What are they? Why are they important? And why do you need to have a direct booking strategy? Basically, direct bookings is any booking that comes, you can skip that, is any booking that comes to your website from you, right? It's from things that you've done, not listings on OTAs, not outside sources. The three main reasons you actually need to try to increase and have more of these is to get off OTAs, right? You want to have less dependence on them because you lose control. They actually control, a lot of times, your cancellation policies. They have their own policies that your properties tend to have to follow. So you want to make sure that you retain some control and actually are able to speak more directly to the guest. The other reason is you want to have brand loyalty, right? When you have brand loyalty, you actually can, your guests are actually more likely to stay with you year after year, as well as they're able to better handle the bumps in the road, I like to say. So if you have a guest who's staying with you for multiple years and they love everything about your brand, and then they come and their HVAC system is not working, and they're more likely to not book with you again because you have brand loyalty, right? Because they've stayed with you and every experience in the past has been outstanding and they want to stick with you. It's another reason you want to have direct bookings is because it does reduce the cost for acquisition or your overall marketing expenses. So it is less expensive to have repeat guests or direct bookings because it's on your website. So the cost of your website is divided across multiple more guests coming in, so it's less cost per booking. And of course, direct is best. So let's go back to where organic bookings come from. So owned bookings is content you create. So this is bookings that come through your website, through your blog, through your social media accounts, your posts and everything you have out there, any emails that you send, any text messages that you send. Then there's the earned bookings, okay? These are where, this is kind of like word of mouth. This is bookings that come from people who talked about you, right? You've earned them because you've earned those places respect. So your reviews, content on other websites. I heard early in the class, like blog influencers that send people to your website is another way you get it. Anytime a friend recommends another friend to start following your social media feeds, and then a thing called billboarding. And we'll clearly define billboarding a little bit later on, but that's another way that's considered an earned booking. And finally, it's your paid, and that's your OTAs, your Google pay-per-click campaigns, any display ads you run on any of those platforms, whether it's Bing Business, Google AdWords, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, anything like that. And when you pay an influencer, so if you pay somebody to actually, or give them 3 nights in your property and then they write about it, it's really technically, even though money didn't exchange hands, it's considered a paid booking. So we're not here to tell you not to work with OTAs. They're actually a really, really important part of your digital marketing mix. So you need to address them. You just need to make sure that you work with them so that it benefits you guys and your company the most. And here we go with the Billboard Effect. So one of the biggest things you can use OTAs for is that if guests will often go to a brand that they're familiar with and have some trust with. And this is something we saw a lot of with the pandemic as we started to get people new to vacation rentals. They were going to the companies that they saw advertisements for, your VRBO, your Airbnb. You guys have seen tons of ads, those touchy-feely ads about family vacations and get-togethers. They all have bigger budgets than we ever will. You'll never be able to compete with their budgets, but you can use their marketing dollars to help you out, and that's the Billboard Effect. So guests go on their websites, they find your property, then they Google the address and book directly with you. And that's what it means. So it's like a billboard. As you're driving down the highway, you learn about it, but then you go to that specific website directly to actually, or business to actually go. Yes. You should be able to.
We'll just laugh louder.
That's because somebody is starting the party too early, right? And without us, that's not nice. No, not at all. So how do you optimize your listings? All right, how do you optimize your listings on OTAs so that you can really get this billboard effect happening? And the biggest thing is to brand yourself as much as possible. So make sure you do things like make sure your property name on the OTA matches the name on your website. So sometimes, in some places, you're able to actually use the physical address as your property name. Make sure that that's the property name or it's included somewhere in your listing on your OTA. Even if it's not the name that you have, a lot of times on VRBO and Airbnb, they want you to use more descriptive titles. But make sure that somewhere in that description, when you talk about the property, you include that title as it appears on your website. Another thing you could do is actually, and a lot of people are probably doing this already, is to bump up your rates. So you want to make it more expensive for them outside of any service fees that the OTA is applying already. You want to make sure your rates are a little bit higher. Not only does that help with the marketing costs, but it also can drive people who are very price focused or sensitive to actually look around to try to book on your website. And it's becoming more and more common practice in everyday society as well. I mean, who here actually gets on the internet, they see something they want to buy, they open a second tab and they Google promo code for every single time. So it's kind of the same thing that we're doing here. They're always looking for better deals. The third thing you can do, though, is actually set a stricter cancellation policy on the OTA. So a lot of them only allow you, a specific option where you may offer the ability for a guest to cancel within 60 days of arrival to get 50% or whatever it is. On the OTA listing, choose that more stricter cancellation policy. Make it the one that's absolutely no refund. Once again, there's a chance that'll deter them from actually booking, but it also protects you a little bit because then they can't cancel unless they do it like within 24 hours or something like that. Another thing you should use OTAs for is to get new guests. So we go back to that whole thing I said before about their marketing budget. They have a lot of money and they're out there pushing their companies over and over and over, to the point now that Airbnb is not really a brand, it's a verb. It's an action people take. They're like, oh, I Airbnb'd, I'm going Airbnb. So that's hard to overcome. Nobody will ever have the budget to be able to do that unless you really hit it rich real quick. So go ahead and make sure that you use that to get your new guests and you have new guests coming in, and that the important thing, and that's what we're really going to focus on today, is to make sure that they never book on that site again. Just for real quick, I want to ask you guys, have you ever looked and seen where you're in your LiveRes website and you pull a report or something and you see this guest, oh, they stayed with me 5 times. Oh my God, they booked on Airbnb 5 times. That's what you're trying to avoid. That's what you want to get away from, and that's what we're really going to focus on today. So ways to keep guests from rebooking. Make sure they know your name. Have promotional items in your properties. Use your name. Send them an email after they book on the OTA, introducing your company and yourself and what your company stands for. Provide an outstanding experience, right? You want them to remember you because you're the one that provided that experience, not VRBO or Airbnb or any other listing site. Offer a small discount for rebooking. So if a guest, send a segmented or targeted email to any of the guests that you see that booked through Airbnb or VRBO, saying, hey, we saw that you booked with us before. We'd love for you to book directly with us. We're going to give you $50 off your next stay, or 5% or 10%, whatever the value is for you to get that back. And you guys have to determine that. And then finally, you got to ask, right? The old thing in sales, if you don't ask for the sale, you're most likely not going to get the sale. So make sure you ask them to book directly with you as many times as you can without sounding like a parrot or a broken record. So let's start with your website. You want them to book with you, right? And they're most likely going to do that through your website. So how do you get them there? How do you get them to your website? And that's where search engine optimization plays an important role. And you guys have probably all attended at least 5 classes that have told you this. And it really is really important for so many different reasons. But here it really plays it because, like I said before, if you use that property name in the actual listing, you got to make sure that the property page is optimized and your SEO is set correctly so they easily find your listing when they do a secondary Google search. So over the long haul, vacation rentals as a whole are making a comeback, right? They used to be kind of popular, then they kind of weren't popular. The term itself is actually making a comeback. So this is a look at Airbnb, which is the blue, and vacation rental, which is the red. And you're going to laugh and say, why are they including Airbnb? And why is that term doing so great compared to all the others? Because it's a prime example that they have a lot more money than we do. So this is why you want to make sure that you're following through on all of these. So how do you improve your SEO on your website? Technical search optimization, and I'm going to run through these real quick because you guys probably all have books already on all of this. That's all your metadata. That's making sure your website loads correctly. That's making sure that your photos are optimized to the right size and all that technical stuff. Jake does an outstanding job. LiveRes websites are really very, very good at that, but it's something you guys need to look at because he doesn't control all aspects of technical SEO. So make sure you're using things like SEMrush to look through that. Increased visibility, that's adding content to your website. Link building, and I'll go into depth, a little bit more depth later on some of these. Link building, making friends on the internet, as I like to say, is another important thing, and sitemaps. So we talked a little bit already about technical search engine optimization, and here's a list of what you should look at. SEMrush is the tool that I like personally, but there's a number of others out there that you can do. And I encourage you all, you can do it for free. They have free versions of it to run a site audit. Even if you're working with a marketing firm, I would tell you to go ahead and run a site audit or ask them to provide you with a site audit so that you can see what needs to be done and where your website stands. Improving visibility. Add content, add a blog, answer frequently asked questions, have a page that is frequently asked questions and continuously add to those frequently asked questions. Use keyword research to look for more terms that you can show up for. Talk to your vacation planners or your reservationists. What are the things that guests are asking? What are the questions they're asking the most? Those are the pages you're going to want to add to your website. Link building, like I said, make more friends on the internet. And make sure you make popular friends that have high domain authorities. So you want to aim for, why are you laughing at me? Make popular friends. Get the cheerleader. No. You want to know, first off, you want to know what your domain authority is because you want to know if your efforts are actually working. So use I can never pronounce this, Ahrefs, the website authority checker, and if you Google that, it will come up. It'll give you a number between 1 and 100. Of course, 100 is more popular, and you can see here, Pinterest is 100. They're very popular. And then you want to go ahead and look at where your backlinks are from. Put your competitor's name through this as well. Put their URL there, see what they're linking to. See if you want to link, if they can link there as well. Just make sure that whoever you link to has a domain authority above 50. Other than that, honestly, it's really not worth the effort. Clean up any backlinks, so this will also be able to tell you in SEMrush if you have links that are toxic to your website, so you want to look at those as well, because you can be doing all this work to add good links, but if you have too many negative ones that are counting against you, you're just going to break even or not be making any forward movement. And one of the easiest ways that I know you want to hit that button. I do. One of the easiest ways to actually add backlinks is Pinterest. Pinterest, everyone thinks it's a social media platform, but it's much more stronger as a link building platform for SEO purposes. So I look at Pinterest and try to add a board a month at least for a key term that you would associate with your company. You may hit it now. Sitemaps, and Jake's going to hate me for this because I put his name on it. And that is that you guys are adding content, right? You're doing all these things. Tell Google about it. Give it to them. Don't wait around for them to discover what you have done. And the best way to do that is to update your XML sitemap on your website. Now, I know all of you are like, well, I have a sitemap in my footer. That's not an XML sitemap. An XML sitemap is like hidden underneath, right?
It's a file.
It's a file that's actually attached to your website that you can't visually see, but Google's bots see all the time. So when you make updates, and I usually say to do this like at least every 6 months, is to go ahead, create one, send it to Jake, give him something to do. He'll write you back and say, hey, I added this to it. You're going to log into your Google Search Console and then add that XML to them and update it. You have this just told Google what is on your website and what your website says and wants to rank for.
To add to the every 6 months, if you've added new pages to your website, that's also a good time to update that sitemap.
Go ahead. So what else can you do to get more direct bookings? And this is where I'm going to pass it over to Arthur, because he's going to take you with his vast knowledge through some additional ideas.
Awesome. That was pretty great.
Thank you.
I love that. Did everyone follow that? Do people have Google Search Console? That's fantastic. I love that. Pretty advanced stuff. Okay, we're going to talk about email building. I think email list building, because I think when you look at all those digital mix items that we had before, one of the best ways to drive those repeat direct bookings is obviously through email marketing. And a lot of people have mixed feelings about email marketing. Some people think it's ineffective, effective. We know we work with companies that have hundreds of thousands of emails and are almost completely 90% non-OTA bookings at this point. So it can drive a lot of free traffic to your website once you build that list of repeat customers. So one of the most important places to collect emails is on your website. And I'm sure you all go shopping online or go to different websites where there's a pop-up or different places to submit your email. And if you're paying people from Google doing search ads, or you're investing in SEO, or you're doing Facebook ads, you want to make sure that you capture their email when they're on your website, because that's just going to extend the value of those ads. Because if you're paying for a click, if that person leaves before you capture their email, you just wasted your money, basically. So especially if they didn't book at that time. So this way, you want to make sure that you're capturing emails on your website and that you're getting those things. And if you go to the next slide, we can look how to do that. So I'd say the most popular way is through one of these pop-up forms. This is from a company called Branson Family Retreats. So if you check out their website, you can see their pop-up form, or you can have these forms on your website. These are MailChimp forms. Any email marketing tool, MailChimp, Constant Contact, Campaign Builder, whatever you use, or if you use Blue Tent, Campaign Monitor, they all have these types of pop-up forms or forms that you can insert on your website, which I know LiveRes websites can do. And this pop-up I love because there's a clear give-get offer. So in this case, you're going to get a guide, and you're going to get a $100 coupon off your next stay. And every single email tool, when you create these pop-ups, they let you create automated emails that get sent to everybody after they submit their email. So that way, you submit it, you get the email automatically, and then you're giving that guest that thing of value, and you can collect a lot of high-quality email through pop-ups like this. This is the pop-up form in MailChimp. To actually put this in your website, super easy. You design the form you want to use, and then you stick this piece of code into the header of your site, and you can put this on any type of website, and LiveRes websites included.
Jake, do you want to tell them where they put that code?
Yeah, so if it goes in the head, you'll have to send it. So if the code needs to go in the head, and you'll see in the instructions on them, whether it be MailChimp or any other third party. So in the head, you have to send to us in design, but if it's in the footer, that's in your preferences, and I'll go over that towards the end of this.
Sorry.
Yeah. So there's a lot of tools like this, whether you use Hotjar to watch people's sessions, or you want to add Facebook pixels, Pinterest pixels for digital retargeting. A lot of the code is going to go into the header of the website because that places the code on every single page. So Jake can definitely help you do that. One popular strategy that I've seen a lot of managers have success with is participating in Facebook groups. There's typically a vacation rental by owner group for almost every single destination in the United States or around the world. This one happens to be by Kauai, and most of them just require you don't put OTA links when you advertise your properties there. And a lot of people will come to these groups, post that they want to travel to XYZ destination, and then you can just respond, hey, we'll email you information about our listings. And that's a great way to capture emails from people that have high intent to travel to your destination in the near future.
So how do you find them?
If you just go on Facebook or you Google like Facebook group, whatever destination you serve, or destinations, there could be multiple groups that you can join. And they just, usually the only requirement is that you have direct booking on your own website.
Or
And-
if you're not a robot.
Yes, not a robot.
And if you don't find one, make your own. I have clients that do that.
Because then people will search for Facebook whatever destination group, and then if you own it, even better. Yeah, this is more of a plug for what we do at StayFi, so I'll breeze over this very quickly. Our product, and there's other products out there that do this, like Silicon Travel, we help you collect emails from everybody staying in the rental through a branded splash page. So just like when you log onto the Wi-Fi at Starbucks, a hotel, at the airport, everybody has to put their information in order to get on the Wi-Fi.
And you can automate emails with that as well.
Yes, so we work with a ton of different partners, including Blue Tent, Switchback Marketing, Guest Hook, as well as MailChimp and tools like that, where every time a guest submits an email into your Wi-Fi system, you will automate a welcome email to that guest, with that discount code or promotion or information about the destination that helps convert the guest from a Airbnb guest to your brand guest, which is obviously the goal that you want to have occur over the course of the stay. Is they're going to come thinking that you're Vrbo or thinking that you're Airbnb, because most guests don't understand the idea of a property manager, what your role is, and they don't understand that you're dictating why their experience is so great, and you want to make sure you convert them to being brand loyal by the time they exit the property. A question I get from a lot of folks here at the conference is, I don't do email marketing, but I don't have the resources to start, because it seems a little overwhelming. And you may already have collected a lot of emails from guests through the OTAs or direct booking. And so I'd say, if you jump ahead to the next slide, the best way to start emailing guests is through something called marketing automation. And what that basically means is you want to set up a campaign, like a once and done campaign or series of emails that gets sent to every single guest once you collect their email. So you can imagine, instead of sending like a weekly or monthly campaign, you sit down, you bang out 10 templates, and then you set up a schedule where every single month you're going to send one of those templates to your guests after you get their email. So you kick off the campaign, and then every 30 days it will just send another email. So that way you can invest one block of time creating your email marketing, and just know that every single email you collect is going to get this series of content over the course of the next 12 months. And so you're less dependent on creating new content all the time, because you just sat down once and you put it all together. And I would say, when you look at doing this type of email automation, there's kind of like different levels of expertise. So if you're just starting out, you want to start out with something very generic, kind of like that give-get example we had with the pop-up. So you just say, hey, if you give me your email, I'll give you this. And then in 30 days, you send them a, hey, these are our vacation rentals, please book with us. And 30 days, hey, here's another code off your next stay. And then another 30 days, here are 5 homes that we love that we would love for you to book and experience. So very generic. It's not segmented. It's not specialized for who the guest is or where they stayed before. It's just one general marketing message to everyone. The next piece, or kind of advanced level that you can take it to, is starting to segment your emails. And that's knowing, like, oh, this guest booked this property, so when I send an automation, I'm going to include photos of that specific property in their next email. So you start targeting emails based on the demographics or previous purchase behavior of the guest, or separate, for instance, people that have stayed with you versus emails you collected from Facebook or your website who have never stayed with you, because maybe you want to give them a more aggressive offer to come book with you for the first time. And then finally, I'd say the most advanced kind of way that we can get with email marketing is personalization. And I'm sure you see this more in e-commerce online. Like if you go shop on Amazon and then 3 days later they send you an email being like, here are great vacuum cleaners you didn't buy, please come purchase one. This is where you're starting to use pixels on your website to send retargeting emails automatically to guests based on the content they looked at on your website. And there's more advanced tools that can help you achieve this level of personalization that starts to automate emails. A great tool is called Klaviyo, which works with a lot of e-commerce tools, where it can actually automate emails based on behaviors people took on your website. So obviously more expensive, but has higher conversion rates because the emails and other forms of marketing they're doing, Facebook ads, are all based on the behavior that individual took on your website to drive that content. These are just some kind of generic ideas of what people are doing with personalized automation. So in this case, we have a guest that comes to this destination in Fernie, British Columbia. They, in this case, logged into the Wi-Fi, but it could be you got their email because they booked. They're sending on day 0 a welcome to the destination email with information about, why Fernie Direct is a great brand and what they can do there. Then in 10 and then in 30 days, they're sending more information about reasons to come back and stay in the destination. So it's just a way of making sure every guest receives your content automatically, and you don't have to do anything after you set it up the first time. And I think one other technique that people often overlook in email marketing is plain text email. I'm sure if you use Gmail, you notice you have kind of the main tab, and then you have the social media tab sometime, then you have the promotions tab. You're going to look in that promotions tab a lot less often than the main tab in your Gmail, and Gmail is kind of sorting your emails automatically. And the biggest signal for why they stick something in promotions tab is images. So if you stick images in your marketing emails, they're going to get shunted into the promotions tab, and they're going to have lower open rates. So one technique that we recommend people do, we had a lot of success with, is you set up an automated email where it's only plain text and it's coming from you or someone on your team, and it looks like you just wrote it out and sent it. I'm sure you see a lot of companies here that are selling you services set up these type of emails where it looks like they're writing to you one-on-one, but it's really being sent out by HubSpot or some other machine. You can do that in a tool like MailChimp. And while a typical promotional email will have a 15 or 20% open rate, you can get open rates up to 40+% with these type of plain text emails. And often people will just respond directly. So they'll reply, say, hey, I'm coming back. Can you help me book my next trip? So having these types of emails set from your sales staff or reservationists is going to help drive more conversions and higher open rates with your marketing. And then finally, something that I see less people do today, but more and more are catching on, is doing this type of retargeting the emails you collect on Facebook and Instagram. A lot of people don't realize that you can actually upload email lists to Facebook ads tools to create retargeting lists. So if you have a database of 10,000 emails that you've collected over the past few years, you can actually take that list as a CSV file, upload it into Facebook, and they'll match those emails against users of Facebook and Instagram, and then you can retarget all of them with your ads. And this is a lot more effective than randomly targeting or trying to define Facebook groups or audiences based on demographic data, because those people have never experienced your brand. But if you're targeting people that already know who you are, you're going to have a lot higher click-through rate and conversions, and they're also going to want to follow you on Facebook and or Instagram. So that's a way to also build your following and your organic reach in those tools. So you can do that both through uploading lists and placing a pixel on your website, which you can place in the header again. And so that way you'll get kind of all the old guests that stayed with you, and then the pixel will add anyone who visits your website to your retargeting audience. So that way you're capturing everyone that's interested, looking into your brand, or have stayed with you before. And I'd just say finally, this type of advertising is super cheap because you're targeting a pretty small set of individuals. So if you want to target 1,000 people on Instagram, it's CPM, which is cost per 1,000 impressions, are going to be $8 to $15. So if you want to target your 10,000 guests, you can spend $100 and you can serve everyone an Instagram ad, as opposed to going out to this wider group of people who haven't heard of your brand before. I think this is you, right? There you go.
All right, so branding on your website is super important. It's also important to know your system as well. You may be the one who's doing it, or you may have someone else assigned to it. But pretty much I'm going to go over the basics. And from there on, you've also got the design team. You've got the support team that can help you through this. So to understand branding areas, we're going to talk about backend navigation, know what is dynamic versus static, and then we're going to strategize a booking funnel. So your branding areas, of course, your CRM is definitely crucial when you're sending out those the email and marketing pieces. In the website, that could be your header, your footer. In fact, some of the new sites that we're building now, the branding's all in the footer. And then any marketing pages that you use. So that could be any specific pages that you have us add to your website, and then you use that as a specific landing page. And then include that in your emails and CRM. And then understand your base colors. This is a big one because I see pretty often that there's landing pages or any marketing materials where you don't quite have your branding attached to that. You may have your logo at the top, but you want to make it a little bit more flashier. And then of course, print materials. Good examples are like in-house ones where you can print something that could be, as you walk in, you've got your logo there, you got your branding, or it could be something as clever as having like a little stand-up card on the table that shows your brand. So on the back-end navigation, we've got a few areas. So we've got company information, website preferences, the update website text pages, and then any extra options that you may have. And I'm going to go a little bit more in detail. So some know this and some don't, but the company information on the back end auto updates to your footer and many other places where you're pretty much your address, your phone number, even in the header as well. We have those as dynamic code, which means it auto updates when you update it in the back end. On the website preferences, there are a few things to know. There's 3 sections. There's a search, there's a property, and then there's the website analytics. So as Arthur was saying, with the code that you get as far as the head code or any footer code, that's going to be in that website analytics piece, which is at the very bottom of the preferences. Another thing too on this one, and I highlighted it in the screenshot, Google Maps API. So we start off with leaflet maps as a default in our system, but leaflet doesn't have a full spectrum of what the area could offer as far as a property goes. So I would highly recommend that if you do not have your Google Maps set up, to get that set up immediately while you have your Google Analytics account logged in as well. So interior pages. You'll hear probably myself, our team say it a lot, but an interior page pretty much is a page that is not your home page. So any interior page is pretty big as far as what you're adding to it. So a good example is the meta tag or the meta title and the meta description. Make sure there's something in there. If you don't, that's negatively impacting your page, and then that overall impacts your site. And then, of course, extra options to help. So know your resources. Pull in those resources that you can, help you out. You've got a design team in-house. We're pretty much, we have a queue that we run through, but if you have anything that you need, any questions, you can email me, design@libraries.com. And then your third-party services, Blue Tent, Q for Launch, Meg, Guest View Guide, a few others. And then, of course, research.
Did you say research?
Research. Formulate those ideas and pull in feedback. I mean, oftentimes we look at things from a two-eyed perspective, but if you get more people to look at your website or get more people to look at kind of the idea or the vision that you're wanting to obtain, that will help you kind of put it all together. And then the dynamic versus static. So dynamic, when we say that, means something that's automatic is where things like your featured sections on your homepage, your website categories that you set up, communities, destinations, local area guide. These are all places you can update on the back end, which will automatically update onto the front end or the website. And then static is any place on the website that you can edit. So the design team, we just started doing this, but we can now open up areas of a page if you want to edit it. So oftentimes we get requests like, hey, I need to update this section on the homepage, and I can't do that. Well, it's probably because during the design element of that, when we built it, the page just wasn't there because maybe no one was involved during that design process. But now, as you start getting involvement with like Blue Tent, Q for Launch, we can give them those accesses as well. And then, description blocks, same thing with the meta description. Just make sure you have something in there if you're going to create a page or add stuff to a page. And then there's a difference between ASP pages and HTML pages. So if you've seen when you've had a page added, the URL will end at that .html. That means someone physically has created that for you. If it ends in .asp, every partner has a .asp page. And those are those little, I don't know if I showed it. Those are the little tick marks that you have on the dynamic website piece where when you're going to update the page, there'll be like a little hyphen on that column. Those are all default to every partner. And then the big one, strategize a booking funnel. So homepage navigation is a pretty much big one. That's the first thing that anyone's going to see when they go to your website. And you could work with us if you have any ideas. Pretty much, what I just try to teach is do not take a guest away from your website. If you have a real estate site, that's fine. Some suggestions would be create a separate page that gives you a little bit of an explanation of your real estate site, and then put the link of your real estate site on that page. Because then that adds a little bit more SEO value
Absolutely.
to your page. And then identify what is important to your business. So know your booking, or know your audience, know who you're trying to market. If you don't know that, you've got tools all around, resources that can help you figure out what that is. And then, of course, avoid too much information. A lot of websites out there have a lot of content on their page, on their homepage, where it's just like you're reading a book. You need to mix it up, add some images to put that in there with it so it makes it a little bit more interesting, but also don't add too much information. The key is less is more. And then highlight post-booking opportunities, so like your local area guide. Sometimes you don't want to put your local area guide front and center on your homepage because essentially you're getting the guest to look elsewhere, but can also take them to maybe an external website that you've updated onto the system. And then promoting other businesses. So like if you have a partner or if you have a buddy that's doing something that's in tandem with your business, you don't want that in the header. You don't want that on the homepage. That's pretty much all I got.
Good job. Does anybody have any questions? I was going to say, are you all overwhelmed? I know they made us the last class, and you're all like, what the hell? I wanted a fluff class. I wanted that easy A. Yes.
So this was mostly directed towards getting repeat renters. Would you say that the information also applies to getting owners? Like some of the same tactics of promoting and doing the email list and just trying, because I think that's kind of where our business is at, as we're trying to grow with the owners more so.
So there are elements that we talked about. I mean, honestly, probably the biggest thing, besides having a really strong landing page, like a property management page on the website, that once again, as Jake said, less is more, okay? But you can set up automations, right? You can set up automations on there, and that's where with Arthur talking about the drip campaigns, you want to do that for your owner recruitment as well. Okay. So it's, yes, some of those things are good to follow through. And then build from there. There's a lot of other elements and marketing techniques you can use that are specific to owner recruitment, but yes, those bases do work.
Yeah, I would ask, do you have good data on who your prospects are? Like, do you know who you want to target? Do you know their address, their names, their emails, phone numbers? Because that's,
Okay.
if you want to do some very effective digital marketing, I would say the first most important thing is the data.
Okay.
If you have good underlying data to target, then you can go to Facebook and you can upload that list, and you can, or LinkedIn, or Pinterest, or Twitter, and you can target those individuals.
Okay.
You can do direct mail to them, which I'm sure you see Picasa just
All the time.
sprays mail all the time, but they kind of do the, spray the whole area. But if you know exactly who you want to target, then you can, obviously customize and target just those individuals. And the the better you can shape your underlying data and audience, the more effective your marketing spend will be, because you're not going to waste it on people who are not prospects.
Okay.
Even if you can't get their specific physical address or their email address, sometimes that can be difficult. If you have a general idea, like Hilton Head Island, a majority of our owners are from Ohio or Pennsylvania. You can still do the targeted digital advertising based on zip code. So you have that ability as well.
Okay.
You can just target your area,
Area, yeah.
or you can do like mass mailing to every home in that area, but that's harder just to look at.
Okay.
Always, the more personalized the data, better the targeting.
And the less the spend, really.
Creepy but very effective.
Yes.
What if, like, I live in a small town, so we have, there's, like, most of my cabins don't have mailboxes. Is there, and as a realtor, we also have the option of going, like, the tax office or the website for the Swain County. Is there a way to put in that address and then find out who the owner is and kind of stalk him to find out how to get his direct email, like, address? Is that an option that you recommend?
Do all your vacation rental owners have to have a permit or some kind of registration with your local government?
Yeah, I haven't looked into this as much, but there's a lot of data brokers, people that sell information on second homeowners. So you can do some research. And I don't know, like a company like Vintory, which specializes in that, obviously they spend a lot of time trying to find that type of data, but it's probably out there because there's a lot of realtors and folks doing type of targeting. So I would do some research. I would say if you ever want to buy like a third-party list, always ask for a sample because you want to validate that it's real. Especially if you're just buying from some random data broker you Google. If they're high quality, they'll always send you a sample so you can check out that it's legit.
And you can decrease the cost on those types of lists, once again, by knowing where your owners live. Not where your cabins are, but where they live. So that you're not buying a list of 1,000 names where 700 of them aren't really relevant to you.
Another thing you can do too is strategize that landing page that you're doing for the owner acquisition piece. Sometimes you'll probably get contacts from owners, and those owners are not the ones that you want on your program. So you can utilize that landing page to put in details on there, like sort of highlighting the things that you want from an owner or that you would provide to an owner. That would give someone a little bit more insight of like, okay, maybe I should not reach out. This obviously isn't my jam.
Anybody? Oh, go ahead.
Is there any ranking difference when it comes to Google calls when it's the personalized page versus the, I think you said HCM versus ASP page? Are they going to lean more towards one over the other because they're default?
No, it's just because the ASP page is a default to the system, and there's no difference.
Your ranking is going to be based more on your metadata and the content that you add to the top of those pages. Anybody?
So on the drip campaign, would you suggest starting with a plain text email and then doing like MailChimp type things with lots of visuals?
So you can, in MailChimp or any other tool, you can build the plain text emails too.
Okay.
So you can build a plain text, or you can use one of like the templates with images. I always suggest doing a combination because certain things are going to appeal to different people. Some people are highly visual, some people do check the promotions folder, some people don't. So you really just want to cast the widest net to get people who have different purchase and email behavior. So in that particular example, it was kind of a welcome email that was happened to be Wi-Fi capture emails. So they knew that people were in the vacation rental at that time. So those have really high open rates, like 60% plus, because they're so timely. Because you're like, oh, enter your email and I'll give you a code on the next day, and they're going to go look. Then when you get further out in the drip campaign, that's when you want to send a 60 days out, be like, hey, this is Rebecca. I'm, the reservationist at XYZ brand. Glad that you enjoyed your stay. If you ever want to come back to X destination, just email me back and I'll help you. And that'll just get sent from her inbox. She won't even know that she sent it. And then some percentage of people will reply. And then you're getting inbound leads. You're not actively reaching out. It's all being done for you automatically.
Another thing to consider too is if you're marketing out to like remote areas, chances are they may not have good service. Plain text is going to reach them better than something with images.
And plain text is going to reduce like spam sports, things like that. So just overall. But you can't, I wouldn't just do one or the other, just do a mixture of both.
A/B testing. And all those platforms make that relatively easy. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you all.
Thank you.
Next time we'll serve coffee or chocolate.
Treats.
Treats, yeah.